The Demon Bottle by Alex Hammond. 0700 hours. And there will be fire from the heavens, and the righteous bolt guns will quicken and purge even the deepest crevices of the underhive. All that is foul and pestilent will be washed away, for this is the teaching of House Cawdor of the Redemption. There was a sound, like a burst of fire that stirred the dim mutterings of my mind to action. Somewhere, in the back of my head, a woman from my dream, beautiful, scarless, and soft, still danced in the upper hive. Look upon this scum. The deepest slag pits could not outmatch his sins in their filth and perversion. Thoughts swelled. My dancing girl disappeared. See, though he wakes from his slumber, he does not release the bottle from his hand. The voice was closer than I remembered in my sleep, louder, too. Enraged, I opened my eyes. Legs. Lots of legs. Some bound in cloth, others wearing heavy boots stretched out before me. I followed them upwards, and discovered the hard, ash-worn faces of a crowd of settlers. Their attention flitted between my recumbent form and someone behind me. A preacher? I began to stand, bow-legged, still recovering from a bottle of wild snake. On your feet, and face the prophet of universal destruction. A solid boot in my back sent me floundering forward into the reeking mud. The crowd cheered. I rolled over onto my back, elbows deep in the sludge. Through mud-splattered eyes, I made out the robed preacher. Thick burgundy cloth ran in torn strips from ground to neck. A leather mask covered all but a pair of rabid eyes, and a mouth spitting blood. A House of Redemption preacher had come to town. Vermin man, stand and answer to the House Cawdor. The true prophets of the flames of salvation. Through the black leather mask, one eye caught my attention. Bloodshot streams ran their course to a pupil as dark as pitch. Another boot struck me full in the face. Look, my voice cracked behind the haze of last night's drinking. I'd be able to stand if you'd stop practicing rap ball at my face. Old man. Stunned silence behind me. The preacher staggered and began to shake violently on the spot. Theatrical performance or the jiggling of a religious psychopath? I wasn't about to hang around to find out. Slowly, I stood. The Cawdor preacher stopped moving. The crowd clustered well back. Oh, bugger, I muttered as a leathered fist pulled out a hand flamer. Talk back, will you, Ratman? Mock those that herald cleansing flame. A white tongue slid in and out of the priest's mouth. Seek ye redemption? Look, I'm happy to go sleeping in some other part of the town. The preacher pointed his flamer in my direction. The crowd scrambled wide. This town is in no need of rat-skin scum. Go converse with your blasphemous hive spirits. That's half rat-skin slimehole. I rushed for the crowd, hoping that the distance and their bodies would afford me protection from the flames. Click. I threw myself onto a pile of scrap. Plop. No wash of flame. I turned over to my shoulder. The zealot stood there. The antiquated weapon, still levelled in my direction, had failed to discharge its round. An empty fuel canister came to rest in the mud beside me. The old man began to reach for a reload amongst his tattered robes. A lead pipe, thick bolt, rusted to one end, felt good in my hand. I wrenched it from the mess of the ancient metal around me and whirled it around my head. The priest, rustling around his drapery, produced another canister. "Ah!" I screamed in terrified panic. "Ah!" The redemptionist thrust his hands together, loading the weapon. A warm trickle of liquid down my leg. My only source of comfort. I swung towards the preacher and reconsidered my options. This man had friends. Too late. The pipe sunk deep into the leather mask. Somewhere in his head, something cracked. A muddy thud later, the preacher lay on the ground. I grabbed his flamer and spun to face the rabble. Only a silver snowfall of effluent ash from somewhere overhead, not a settler in sight. The silver ash fall began to thicken. Somewhere in the hive city, miles above me, ancient machines were grinding over, pulling on pistons, driving cogs, and starting the 1,000-year-old machines of Hive Primus. 0800 hours. The ashfall had worsened. I watched from inside Karag's saloon as desperate underhivers ran for cover, trying to keep their particle intake to a minimum. Push your annual quota too high, and you'd reduce your lifespan by as many rads as you'd inhaled. Inside the bar, smoke hung momentarily before the air filters dragged it into the bowels of downtown's evaporation tanks. I had used the old zealot's money to purchase a fresh bottle of wild snake and a few pills from a fixer. I began to think things over. Life was getting bad for settlement-dwelling ratskins. So bad, it appeared, that even half-castes like myself were now the targets for retribution. I should move up Hive, work in an Orlock factory until I had enough creds to pay for some new flesh and a day on the serum drip. I had no need for a lung pump. The respirators I had scavenged when I was young kept me free from noxious air. Once I'd had a wet overhaul, I'd have a better chance of being employed by one of the Spire noble families. Karag's extraction fan above the bar spluttered, gave a grinding death rattle, and stopped. Almost immediately, all eyes turned to me. Karag, big man, lots of teeth, stretched out his hand towards me. His 2 real fingers held out a stack of Gilder credits. "Zach, we'd all appreciate if you'd go in there and fish out whatever's got caught in the fans. I've quit cleaning ducts. Even for your friends?" Karag flipped out a few extra coins. "You try wrestling at Karachi and Phase Eater one day and then see if you're keen on going back into an air duct. There's a bottle of wild snake on me if you do it." 0850 hours. Somewhere in the duct, something was half alive. Its squeals echoed through the steel lung that fed air into the bar below me. The humid conditions of the air ducts of the underhive were home to creatures that could just not bear to live anywhere else. Albino millosaurs, phosphorant lashworms, and all manner of tropical spores and bugs. A few tiny carapaces cracked beneath my hands as I inched further towards the bar's extraction fan. The squealing stopped. It had heard me. I struggled with a flashlight and shone it forward onto the mechanism. Like a leathery bolt, something rushed forward, needle teeth snapping at my hand. I slipped forward. The flashlight spun out of my hand, sending spiraling patterns about the air vent. It came to a dead rest on the creature. 4 eyes, perched in a row across its brow, stared into mine, unblinking. A multitude of legs, wing flaps strung between them, dipped. The thing sprung again. Its teeth were just inches from my face, but no further. Looking over the thing's back, I followed its tail, like a large welt of flesh, to the extraction fan. It was caught. "Karag," I called down to the mumbling bar through the vent. "Quiet." Karag poked at the air duct from below with a broom. "That you, Zach?" "Karag, notch your fan up a few dots. You sure about that?" "Karag, this thing is going to eat my nose if you take any longer." Hurried footsteps somewhere below. The fan ground a full revolution, pulling the creature 8 inches towards the rough blade. "Again," I called. The creature squealed and lost its footing, scrabbling on the metal. The fan, now free, whirred up to full speed, sucking the thing backwards into its blades. It ground the thing up like a paste, splitting and spitting its entrails, its many legs, and its bright yellow ichor into the vents, all over me, and down into the bar. "It's dead," Karag's voice observed, astutely, from below. 1000 hours. A fresh bottle of wild snake in hand, a few offcuts of a giant rat skin tucked around my feet, I settled down into an alleyway behind a tanner's shop. I opened the stopper on the bottle and let its pungent odour hit me full in the face. I had done well. The distiller had let part of this brewed snake slip into the bottle. looked like a rib. I took a swig and swallowed one of the pills I had acquired earlier. Somewhere in the distance, gunfire rattled out a staccato beat. The gangers were waking. Leaning back, I looked skyward. The 1,000 walkways of the underhive disappeared into the blackness like 1,000 steel-black arteries, feeding the lifeblood into the hive city's dark heart. I could make out underhivers moving along the lower levels. Little people moving. Little people with more scar tissue than sense. This place swarmed with the very worst humanity had to offer. Here I was, knee-high in effluent with only a bottle of wild snake, a dust respirator, and a dead man's weapon, and a rad counter to my name. I had to move up hive. I'd almost lost my life twice today, and I wasn't going to settle for a third. In the hive spire they don't have bugs. No, sir. No bugs. No wounds either. The tiny lights of the hive city above me looked like a galaxy of stars, a glimpse of greater things. A gentle breeze washed over my face, and I knew I was in. The soft sound of music, light as though touched by the fingers of air. A small coloured bird in a cage, a clear night sky free from poisonous cloud cover, star freighters, bright blue thrusters propelling them into deep space. The woman, injury-free in white skin, dancing, turning around and around, calling my name, soft melodious voice, no rattle of gunfire, just the soft wind, the dancer, and the smell of real plants. 1,200 hours. I woke for the second time that day. With the visions of the hive spire still playing through my mind, I walked out of the alleyway into the city streets, holding the fur offcuts tight around my shoulders. For the first time in years, I smiled at a woman and child as they passed me by. Fresh rats hung off their pelts. I knew where to go and how to do it. I was going up hive. 12:30 hours. When you've got little that you own, and still getting over the euphoric effects of a drug cocktail, everything seems a lot easier. Perhaps if I had been straight, I would have gone about my exodus a little differently. Perhaps I wouldn't have gone to the front gate. "You Atman Sark," masked man, 3 others with him. "Huh?" I stared through 2 ancient pillars that denoted downtown's front gate. It was 5 meters away. The drugs in my system tripled that distance. "Atman Sark, your name, half-breed." The man was dressed in robes. A pair of ape-like lips jutted out of a leather mask. Yeah? "Someone paid a lot of money so they could have a problem with you instead of us." One of the other men, cradling an auto-pistol in his hands, spoke tight-lipped through a similar mask to his friend. "Oh?" "Enough of this." The big man was giving the orders. "Pack him up and let's make that delivery." I couldn't remember where I tucked the flamer. One of the men struck me with a syringe filled with black liquid. My body sagged, and then I realized what I'd done. 1,400 hours. "Hello, my sweet." The dancing woman. I'd be able to open my eyes if I could stop my head from rotating. There were others in the room. I caught hold of my head and snapped my eyes open. Oh. A bloated neck led in rolls of flesh up to the back of a shaven head. He's awake. The figure turned around to face me. A pair of bespectacled eyes stared down on me from within a wealth of flesh. A large gilder badge predominated, a costume of rich cloth and precious metals. "Greetings, Mr. Gunter," I slurred. "Oh, Sarak, there's no need for formalities. No, debts as steep as yours make us business partners. Call me Otto. Do." Otto Gunter, the black-tongued gilder prince of the Underhive. First time we'd met, though I knew his agents well. A gilder with as many kills to his name as he had guild bonds. "Okay, Otto." I attempted to reach out a hand, but found it tightly constrained by an iron brace. "Oh, silly boy, you're in no state to move. There's enough spore venom in your blood to have you flapping around like a fish on the floor if we don't keep you restrained." His pitch-black tongue licked his lips. Which spore? Logtech. What colour was it? Otto turned back over his shoulder. Yellow. A metallic voice in the shadows, the only other thing in the big, empty warehouse. Now, Sarak, I have the antidote to this poison if you just pay up your debts. Got nothing. That used respirator, rad counter, and that hand flamer you so cleverly hid on your belt makes up at least, say, 30 credits. Now, if you could just make up the other 160. I don't have any money. Oh, yes. Well, this is no good. Discovered any archaeotech recently? The Gilder's pudgy fingers danced at the mention of ancient technology. No. Some green hivers I could extort? No. Well, I guess I'm going to have to sell your carcass to a body bank. Wait, I could offer you my services. Perhaps I didn't sound desperate enough. I'm afraid you're a little underskilled. You're the town drunk and a chem head to boot. You're worth about 10 credits to a generous body harvester. Seriously, I can take care of infestations. Infestations? Pests. All right, Sarak, you've got yourself a job. You take clear of an infestation and we'll wipe the slate clean. I might even see about that dancing girl. What? Otto's nasty little mouth broke into a smile. You dare touch my mind with an unsanctioned psyker and I don't deal with psychers, Sarak. You spilled your guts to us when you were under. Once metaphorically and the second time. Well, I'm not laughing, fat man, I slurred. You're in no position to laugh, you mincing turd. Otto's spittle sprayed my face. Logtech, give him the antidote and send his sorry behind rigged up to get infiltrated. Oh, you're going to enjoy scavies. What? Your chosen vocation is pest extermination. Well, I'm up to my armpits in mutant scum from the bottom of the hive, and they're costing me profit. Otto spat out the words, slapping a Gilder badge onto his chest. What did you think I'd do? Send you into my warehouses with a stick and a rat quota? Yes. Otto wobbled as he broke into a high shriek. Let's get this show on the road. The warehouse suddenly came to life. Lights cast the shadows aside, and the ground shook and began a steady rumble. Where am I going? I stumbled over the words, my fear obvious. We're taking this rig deeper into the hive. Otto smiled. 1,500 hours. What Mr. Gunter wants is simple, and when Mr. Gunter wants something simple done for a lot of money, we do it, right? A strap was pulled tighter across my chest. Look, Tech. The man comprised more machine parts than real flesh, staring across at me. You don't want to be leading an assault against these depraved cannibals, just like I don't want to be sneaking into their hideout and poisoning them. Not all of them, just the leader. Without them, they're toasted rat. That's a moot point. I'll be dead before I get close to any of them. Not with this, you won't. Logtech fastened another strap across my chest and placed a electrode upon my head. What is it? A hollow suit. Mr. Gunter was planning on selling them to the Talarian rebels. Logtech's metal fingers pressed another electrode roughly to my head. But an Imperial patrol clamped down on his spaceport, and the stock ain't moved since. What's it do? Rerouted to make you look more like a scavvy. Here. Logtech flashed a piece of mirrored glass in my eye. Whoa. Welts and a third eye adorned my head. Come on, Logtech. You know I would look more realistic with sludge meals made on my face. It's still configuring to your dimensions. Do you really want to go into this battle? Come on, we could ditch this caravan and head up Hive together. Sorry, little man. When exactly did you become a friend of mine? But see these? Logtech flashed out a series of pictures. Oh no, frag. Skinned like sludge rats. These are the faces of gangers. Mr. Gunter had me ride out of town. These hollows are all that is left. Right now, they are eel food. I'm not in the business of being pleasant. I am a hired gun, little man. Now, get ready to go. I didn't speak to Lugtech again. Otto, seated behind a control panel in his head caravan, issued orders to a band of mercenaries and hired scum, a posse he'd pulled together from the toughest bars in the Underhive. I pondered my predicament. In my sweat-drenched palms I still held 5 melting capsules. Poison, Lugtech had said, but I had my own suspicions. Through the shimmering light of the holosuit, I pulled on the fuel canister Otto had reimbursed me as part of the hand flamer. It was fresh, brand new. Otto finished his commands. Now, Sarak. We're going to equip you with that little flamer to give you some confidence, pep you up some. Nothing is going to go wrong. We've been planning this for weeks, so all you have to do is mosey on up to them with that carcass and its juicy piece of bait in your hands, pop those pills into their leader's food, and hello, come home to mummy. 2100 hours. The grinding of the machines above had always been of comfort to me. But down here, at Hive Bottom, I could not hear them, only the soft squelch of the mould carpet beneath me. Huge pillars bored into the ground like the trunks of a steel forest. Fluorescent bugs scuttled up and down them like blood in the veins of an ancient giant. In the darkness, I regarded the dead ganger I had dragged all of this way. His eyes were bloodied, a pockmark of jagged flesh torn through his jaw. His death had been slow. Into his belt was tucked a map, even a Gilder schedule. Pretty good ones, even I couldn't tell they were fakes. I hoped that the smell of the blood hadn't attracted the nasty things from their recesses. "Scav here," a voice in the darkness. A stunted figure. "Hun," I replied, trying to give a little indication of my Uphive origin. "Big 8 on. Hugger skin." I didn't understand a word. "Hun." I stuck to what worked. "Sludge meal, man flesh to eat." "Splendid," I muttered under my breath. The dark figure led on, stumbling towards a dim glow in the distance. We approached the Scavvy stronghold. 20 figures gathered around a large fire in the middle of a shantytown. I nearly retched when I saw the faces of these depraved souls. The garish light the fire threw up highlighted their pustulant limbs, their encrusted skulls, and their infested wounds. Upon the fire was a giant, spent ammunition shell, used as a cooking pot. A stray limb fell out as a bloated scavvy stirred. Not even the visions of my worst drug-induced stupor with its skinless apes and pit-eyed marionettes compared to this spectacle. "Motherpot!" A plastic-wrapped man, jagged smile and pointed teeth stepped out of the mass of cannibals. "You been good eating?" I muttered, sticking with the routine. "Me, Hogas, I lead." The half-man reached out a wrapped hand. I passed him the body. "You kill him?" The eye shifted. Look at Gilder." Hogus looked down. His smile dropped. For a second the hollow suit shimmered. "What?" The scavvy leader reached toward the body and removed its torn flak jacket. "He got words." The scavvies left the pot, then huddled close, small luminous worms digging around their flesh. I closed my eyes. "Word tell of more Gilderkin. Travel slow through old walls. Got good stuff," Hogus translated. "Good stuff." The scavvies cheered, moaned and shrieked in near unison like a demonic chorus. "Bring you scav down front. Let him eat some." Hogus flapped a claw at me. I would have been happier if I had been buried alive in a mass grave. These fiends gorged themselves for an hour on the half-decayed carcass of former companions and the fresh kill I had delivered to them. The leader sipped from a private keg of wildsnake by his side. His plastic squeaked and rustled as he stood to fetch another bowl of flesh gruel from the pot. I stumbled towards it through the crowd of scavvies, half-rotten hands slapping me on the back as I moved. I reached for the keg, its neck in my grasp. All sound and movement stopped. All eyes were upon me. Hogus spun round. His eyes met mine. Thin wisps of psychoelectricity played across his fingers. I had to think quick. I unplugged the lid of the keg, dropping to one knee, and offered it to him. "Hail, Hogus, Witchman King!" I was fast running short of ideas. "Hail! chorused the scabbies. Hogus grinned a jagged-toothed smile at his monstrous comrades. In the moment his head turned, I crushed Otto's pills through the gaps in my clenched hand. "Hail, Hogus!" Hogus chuckled and reached towards the keg of wild snake. A shot rang out. The scabbies fell to the ground, drawing out ancient blades and muskets. Hogus fell to the ground, clutching at his chest. A large-scaled scabby stood up, smoking pistol still in his hand. "No hail, Hogus! Hail, Blotter! Hail, all scavs!" Oh, great. I was in the middle of a scabby revolution. A cannibal collective. Hogus gurgled, shimmering blue light dancing around his chest wound. "Blotter!" Hogus cried, and then erupted in a rush of blue flame and sparks. The cannibal pot spilled its gore onto the sludge. I slipped on a rotten intestine. "Blotter good scav, let other scavs drink." Blotter, 3 arms, 1 eye, snatched the wild snake from my hands and took a deep swig. I scuttled back from him, eyes roaming the scabby crowd for an escape route. Blotter grinned across both his mouths. "Good drink." His eye caught mine. "New scav, drink up. All scavs drink." I shook my head. Blotter wasn't showing any signs of being poisoned yet. Perhaps it took a little time to wear in. "Drink!" Blotter waved his gun at me. The other scabbies fell silent. I fingered the trigger of the hand flamer tucked inside my shirt. An arcing spray would hit most of them. What was I saying? I'd never shoot a gun, let alone a highly volatile antique. Clunk, click. Drink. Blotter cocked his head and thrust his pistol at me. They must have been getting suspicious. I reached forward, taking as long as I could to reach the bottle. Still no sign from Blotter. Slowly I grasped its neck and held it to my lips. A small clock was ticking down the time in my head. I tried to move its hands. I let only the smallest amount of the wild snake touch my lips and trickle down my dry throat. "Ma!" Blotter grabbed my hand and upended more of the drink into my mouth. I spluttered backwards onto the ground to a burst of laughter. I lay there while the scabbies drank themselves silly on the wild snake. I was poisoned. I tried forcing my fingers back into my throat, but nothing new happened. "New scav, come slay Gilderkin." It was Blotter. Looked like Hogus's old plan still stood. I staggered to my feet. Perhaps Otto had an antidote. All I had to do was circumvent the hollow suit and get up to his caravan. Half a chance was better than none. The scabbies armed themselves with stolen weapons and rust-encrusted blades. As they busied themselves, I struggled with Hogus's body, trying to find some evidence of his death. In the end, I cut a ring from his finger. New scav, Blotter, and his mutant comrades were ready. Now. Glad to be running. Good to be running. Perhaps we'll make good time. But what if there is no antidote, no means of stopping the poison that runs through me? I'm not feeling ill, but that could have been one of Otto's nastier concoctions, something seeping into my system and eating away at me from inside. Otto must have planned for the poison to kick in when the scab arrived in his trap. Why didn't he tell me about it? How could he know if they'd come straight away? What if... We arrive. An old dome town. The metal braces that once held its roof still remain like an old iron skeleton. The perfect place for a trap. A Gilder caravan sits in the centre of the dome. The scabbies cheer as they see it below. Guns blazing, they rush at it. I follow, keeping my distance, trying to catch sight of Otto. Nothing. And then it starts. Before the scabbies even reach the caravan, one falls to the ground. It clutches its head and thrashes about on the ash floor. Dust kicks up at its feet, and thin wisps of light crackle about its head. One last kick and it lies still, electricity tracing along its lifeless body. Blotter begins to scream, firing shots wildly into the air. One gets lucky and hits one of Otto's mercenaries, hidden in the iron braces. A volley of gunfire, heavy weapons and red-hot lasers rains down on the scabbies. A few shots are good, but the mutants seem to have uncanny speed. Blotter still screams and then begins to slowly rise up from the ground. Weird? Spiraling upwards, his shotgun buckles as forces beyond his control rack his body. Other scabbies, hidden among the old machines and broken concrete slabs, begin to cast fire from their fingers, burn white-hot and float. "Gunter!" I yell over the sound of screaming scabbies and the gunfire. A red dot traces its way across the ground towards me. I struggle with the electrode stuck to my head. I start running. Bullets pepper the ground beneath me, throwing up ash and ricochets from scrap metal. I duck into an old doorway and slump to the ground. There's a scabby hiding in here too. It draws out an old musket. I wave my flamer at it.
"Scav,"
it moans.
"Others think in my head."
What?
"Big man laughing. Metal man shoot metal from above. Scavs think of dead."
It slaps its brow.
"All in my head. All in my head."
Suddenly I work it out. Spook, the street name for what wannabe psychers hit up in order to get some psychic action. It was banned throughout the Underhive, but some still couldn't refuse the chance of wielding a little bit of nether force. Otto must have wanted to fry the Scabby's boss's mind, make him overload on psychic juices or something, but now it was messing with everyone's head.
"You think man thoughts, you not Scav, you friend of Laughing Man."
The Scabby levels its musket at me. I let my finger run the flamer's trigger as far as it will go. The flamer begins spewing napalm across the Scabby and throughout the burnt-out room we were in. I leap from the flames. A bullet grazes my head from above. The sniper must have been waiting. I start running again, panting and desperate. One of my legs catches a light from the lick of flame that comes rushing down from above. The scene outside is rife with destruction and carnage. Scabby turns on Scabby, hallucinating wildly as the mercenaries gradually tighten the stranglehold. Bullets fall in waves around the dome. I drop to the ground and beat at the flames on my legs. I rip the electrodes from my head and hit the hollow suit's release. Blood trickles down my eyes.
"Gunter, you slime hole!" I scream.
"Don't worry, he'll get his." A voice in my head. What? I groan, flat on my back, the ancient dome above me. My head spins. Something is inside my head. Hive spirit? Not exactly. What are you doing in my head?
"You eat those pills."
What? Uphive. Dreams of Uphive. Think. Focus. I pull myself across the ground. Scabbies lie, twisted and contorted in the shapes of painful death. Many are alight. You're the last one alive. How do you know? Voices in the distance, outside my head.
"Trust me, I was there when each of them died."
Otto Gunter, the black-tongued gilder, strolls around the corpses, surrounded by men, marking each dead Scabby off on a clipboard. "We've done well, Lugtech." Otto addresses the mechanoid man beside him. "Quite well."
"Gunter,"
I call out.
"He can't hear you."
It's true. He doesn't react.
"Gunter!"
I scream so loud I think my lungs burst.
"I won't let him hear you. Not till we've had our little chat."
Who are you? Pain shoots throughout my body. Get out of my head. I roll over, face first in the ash. She dances pretty well. What? Ash tastes like burnt bones.
"The girl in your head."
Leave her alone. Oh no, silly boy. The spire looks nothing like this. No. Scrap the coloured birds and the warm breezes. They're all hooked on life support systems up there. Air's too thin to breathe. The voice is jagged with cynicism. Liar.
"How do you know?"
Like a pain in the back of my head. Don't cry now. Damn you. That's better. Use those emotions all up. I feel my body being lifted. Now, let's get us moving, hey? I stand to my feet, legs propelled by forces other than my own. The men move with suspicion. Otto is undeterred. Well done, Sarak. Otto approaches. Why do you spook? My voice rings like a roll of thunder. Oh no, I don't deal in illegal substances. Crack! A pain through the chest. That's your payment done. The obese gilder slides his pistol back into its holster.
Did that hurt? It had to hurt.
I stagger forward, thrusting the flamer at Otto. What? Otto turns, my sudden actions making the fat man dance on his feet. Kill him! A hail of gunfire jousts with the wave of flame that I launch from the weapon in my hand. I'm struck all over, hot metal boring into my flesh. The bullets feel warm inside my cold body. Not too much pain.
That's the spirit!
I burst alight. Otto's men roll and writhe on the ground, slapping at the flames.
Let's dance!
A few remaining mercenaries rush at me, controlled bursts breaking into wildfire as I fail to fall to the ground in a bloody heap. What are you doing to me? I scream, as I am strung about like a puppet on a string.
You're possessed from the warp, boyo. It's a lesson in messing with psychic drugs.
Claws I never knew I had begin to cut the fighting men to ribbons. Only Lugtech fights on. Blood and oil streams from his body, his machine limbs clogged with his own life fluid. All too soon he falls to a burning heap on the ground. This is it, I think. I'm going to die, but I have one last trick to play.
What trick?
Never you mind, I say aloud. I rush Otto. He screeches and tries to run, but I do not let him. Take my credit badge, Zarak. I can fix it. I have friend in the spire. I can get you to work there. Otto weeps like a child. No, I calmly reply. I feel no pain. No, Otto. We're both going to die. The hurt runs in waves across my body. What are you doing to me? The voice is fading. I have a present for you, Otto. I release hold of all that I care for, let my emotions slip into nothing. Slumping forward, I fall on top of Otto, crushing his body to the ground. Otto shrieks. Already a death spasm grips my body. You're dying. I know. I thrust a bloodied hand down the screaming Gilda's throat and let go of the dancing girl. My eyes are glazing over. Consciousness slips away with the last drops of blood. A final image burns into my retina. The screaming Gilda, possessed to die and to burn for all eternity.